In this lesson, we'll look at how Dreamweaver validates our HTML code. We've talked a bit about validation previously. If I bring up Dreamweaver by double-clicking on the Dreamweaver icon, what I want to do is validate that the code that we've written is in fact correct XHTML 1.0 transitional, which we can see we instruct the browser to interpret our code as by using a doc type at the beginning of our file, which we covered in a previous lesson. I want Dreamweaver to read through the code of my HTML file, or in fact my entire HTML site, and validate that the code that I have written matches that specification. The validation tool in Dreamweaver draws upon the validator preference, which we can see under Preferences and under the Validator category. Here we can specify our options for validation. We currently have XHTML 1.0 transitional specified as our doc type, which we should be using for this lesson. And if I click on OK, to validate this document, and by the way, I've put in an error in this page intentionally, so don't be concerned if you see an error, you should. From the File menu, I'll select Validate and check Markup. Now, whenever I see anything that looks like a red icon, I start to feel bad and go, oh no, red exclamation point icon, I should feel really bad. Not at all. I'm going to look at each of these items and see that Dreamweaver is telling me what's wrong, but it's also trying to help me understand what needs to be modified. Heading 2 is not allowed within a paragraph element. I can see that Dreamweaver is also telling me that this error is being found at line 36, which I can get to by scrolling in the code view, or, more efficiently, by just double-clicking on the error. Dreamweaver will jump to the appropriate line when I double-click on the error, and I can see, oh, I've got a series of H2s inside a paragraph element. Actually, as we think of it, we don't need this paragraph element. So, if we take this paragraph element out by selecting it and hitting the delete key on our keyboard and scrolling down and removing the closing paragraph element, save our file from the File menu, Command-S or Control-S on the PC, and then from the Validation tab, we can select Validate Current Document, or as we had from the File menu a moment ago, Validate Markup. And now, no errors were found, and this file validates as valid XHTML 1.0 transitional. Let's take a look at another instance of an error, one that's very likely to occur as you're working on your HTML. I'm going to intentionally break this image reference. I'm going to take out the / at the very end of this empty element. Now, from the File menu, if I select Validate Markup, I can see that Dreamweaver tells me that I have a single error. Now I'm going to do something a little bit more drastic. I'll fix that error that we just created by putting that / back in, saving my work, and then validating the markup. See that it's correct. I'm going to take out the / of the closing div surrounding this image. Now, this should produce several errors because every block element must be closed. Now, if I validate this markup, I get 2 errors. The reason that I'm getting 2 errors is because Dreamweaver doesn't know what I'm trying to do. Just like your web browser, Dreamweaver is doing the very best that it can to interpret your intent. But since every web page is unique and every individual web designer is unique, Dreamweaver doesn't know what you're trying to do. Dreamweaver is just doing the best that it can to follow your instructions. Dreamweaver now sees what it considers 2 opening div tags. It doesn't know which one is the right one. You have to notice and make the determination as to what is wrong and what needs to be fixed. But knowing that at line 80 we encounter the end of our page, and that our div tags need to be closed, somewhere in the page, we can look at the div tags that are in question. Notice how they've changed to black, indicating that something is not quite right with these as compared to all the other div tags on our page. We can instantly see, oh wait, I didn't close that closing div tag. If I put that / back in, File and Save, and File, Validate Markup, both errors go away with a single fix. Now this seems like a small example, but when you have pages that'll have hundreds of lines of code, which you're going to have very quickly because you're going to start copying and pasting whole sections of files, one error may yield 20 validation errors. That's to be expected because Dreamweaver has no idea of your intent. So don't be concerned when you see a great many validation errors. If you see 20 validation errors, it may only be because there were 2 small things wrong on your document. So don't let the validator concern you, but do be concerned about writing valid code. Because if we get in the habit of not writing valid code, the page may very well not be displaying the way you intended on the other side.